Well, hello everybody. This is Dr. J. Smith, and I've got a special friend that I just met maybe a month ago in Nairobi, Kenya. Joseph Oti. Hello. Great to see you again, all the way from Nairobi.
Great to see you too.
We um we were together in Nairobi doing some meetings together with friends of ours, and you were in the car with me, and we were driving around Nairobi, as I remember, and you were showing me all the sites and all the buildings. My wife was with me. She had grown up there, and she was seeing a completely new Nairobi. She did not remember this
Mm,
being so modern
mm.
and so built up when the days that she grew up. And as we were talking, I mentioned these buildings, and you, of course, you work with Somalis, do you not, Joseph? Tell us a little bit about what you do there in Nairobi.
Yeah, I do work with the Somalis here, and basically what we do is to bring the gospel to them, knowing that they come from a country where they basically have no access to the gospel so easily. So we find this to be a God-given opportunity for them to also find God's mercy. Yeah, and so we go around wherever Somalis are, and we bring the gospel of Jesus Christ to them and bring them to the Lord, and disciple some of them. Yeah, basically that's what we do.
And as I understand, you go into a quarter, an area of Nairobi that is controlled by the Somalis. Tell us about it's Eastleigh, right? It's called Eastleigh. Tell us
Yeah,
about Eastleigh.
yeah. So Isili, yeah, has a bit of history, very interesting history. Actually, the first settlers in Isili were the Asian people who had come to Kenya to work on the railway line back before independence, before when the colonialists were still here. So they they basically were staying in that area away from the rest of the Africans because they didn't want to mix. But over and about, the Somalis also came in. They were working now as the mostly as the guards, as the people who will be supporting the Asian community as they do the more of the technical stuff. But the numbers continue to increase. Then later on, the government would push them over to that direction of Isili, coming from this side. Or it was a different side of the city. Isili is on the eastern side. They were brought from the western side because their population was growing, so they were taken nearer the Asian people. Uh, so over time now, of course the population has grown too big, and the Asian community has been pushed back in a place called Westlands. They are moving more westward because the Somali population is really big. As we speak right now, Isili, we commonly call it the small Mogadishu, and it hosts, I would say, up to over 300,000 Somalis as we speak. So yeah, it's not a small city. It's quite huge because I was just looking online and seeing like the population of Minnesota, Somalis in Minnesota would be about 100,000. Uh, yeah, so basically you're talking of a very, very huge Somali population there, and that's their business
So
hub. That's
three times, three times the population of Minnesota is what you're saying,
yeah,
roughly. Okay.
yeah.
Um, the reason where I've asked you to come on is because there is something that has really exploded here in America.
Mm,
And you've probably been hearing about it in the news in the last month or so. We're talking in December 2025. That's what we're talking right now.
mm,
But about in November, the month before, just after I had come back from Nairobi, after I'd come back from Kenya, all of a sudden in the newspapers was all these stories, story after story of the fraud cases that were coming to light here in Minnesota, but primarily in Minneapolis,
mm.
Minnesota. And I went through quite a few articles, but I've got one that I've taken notes from various articles. Let me just pass this by you. Listen to this, Joseph, what I'm going to tell you, and then explain to me what you think is going on, because I think I know what's going on. But let me just go through and give you some statistics. Here in Minneapolis, there have been they call fraud funding schemes. These are schemes that have been, these are money that have been set aside by the government for disenfranchised children or people here in the United States. And there have been three major frauds that they have uncovered here in just Minnesota. One is called the Feeding Our Future fund that was put together basically to feed young children from disadvantaged families. And of course, in Minneapolis, many of them would be would obviously be Somalians because they're the largest group in Minneapolis of the ones who are the most needy. And they have this Feeding for Our Future fraud. There have been 78 people, defendants, who have been arrested. There have been 56 convictions from people who have taken this money and have pocketed it themselves and then sent it somewhere, sent it out of their bank accounts. And they are, at the moment, they have been able to amalgamate and see that there have been $300 million. $300 million have been sent from this fund out of the United States to look up most people assumed it's been sent to Somali because these are all Somalis who have been defrauding this program. And that is as of November 24th, so just last month. This is the largest COVID-19 fraud scheme in the country, in America. This is the largest one that's been found anywhere in America. 300 million has been sent by the Somali community. These are all Somalians out of the country. No one knows where they're sending them to because we can't go overseas and find out those banking accounts because it's off their jurisdiction. The government has been able to pull back about 75 million. So that's number one. Number two is another program for autistic children. And this is called the Auditors Fund for the Autism Providers. It is for Minnesota's autism program. The number of providers who are supposed to diagnose and treat people with autism disorder increased 700% in the Somali community in just the past 5 years. They started out with 41 providers. That means people that were helping children who had autism in 2018, and it's now jumped to 328 providers. These are people who are working with autistic kids. As of 2024, when they started out in 2017, 2018, $1 million was taken out of that program, and supposedly was meant for autistic kids. As of last year, it's now jumped to $200 million. $200 million just in the Somali community for autistic kids, made up of what is the 100,000 individuals, right? And they have found out, and one of the primary people that's in this program that has been using money is a woman named Asha Farhan Hassan. She's only 28 years old. She's very young. And she has been going out to to family after family after family to diagnose every child with autism. In other words, enormous amount of autism so that she could use more money would be allocated. So that's $220 million from that program. And then the third program that's right now being highlighted is what they call the Housing Stabilization Fund. This is the stabilization for people who need housing, people who need to help from the government to pay for rent, things like this, which is normal. That's what you do when you're on welfare. And 87% of the people, the Somali community, is on welfare, and so almost 90%. Now, it was first allocated. It was started in July of 2020, and at that time, $2.6 million was given, which doesn't sound big. That's about normal for a city that size, for a number of people. That it was 100,000 people. 2.6 million is about right. In 2021, it jumped to 21 million. Wherefore 8,300 people were enrolled in it, all Somalis. In 2022, it jumped to 42 million. Now there were 14,500 200 people enrolled in it. In 2023, it jumped to 74 million with 16,900. Can you see what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, it jumped to 104 million in claims for 21,000 people. So can you see it's been jumping and doubling every year? Where is all this money going? And look
Mm-hmm.
at the amount of money, 101 million. It is now totally, in just the 5 years, 304 million have gone to basically 21,000 people. All of $300 million, you can see that's, I mean, they should, many of them should be millionaires by now.
Yeah.
So obviously this money is going somewhere. And what they're now saying as of last week, this basically equals to around $1 billion
Mm-hmm.
has just come from this community in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, from 100,000 people that are there. And it's not there anymore. Where is it?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they sending
Mm-hmm.
it? Well,
Yeah.
most people think that they're sending it to Al Shabaab. That's the default. But so far, according to this article that I just read, there has been no case. They have not been able to find any connection with Al Shabaab at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Ilham Omar, who is the representative for the Somali community there in Minneapolis, very outspoken. She has saying, "Isn't it odd that they can't find where this money is going?" And it shows just how inept the FBI is, which is she may have some truth in it. Why is the FBI hasn't been on this? Because this is nothing new. It didn't just come out this year. According to Fox 9, which is the local Fox station there in Minneapolis, they've been talking about this for over 10 years. They've been trying to wake up people about this for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was only when I was going with you, when I was with you in the car there in Nairobi, and you started showing me some buildings. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start looking at these buildings. So I'm looking at an apartment building. This looks like it looks pretty new, brand new. Here we're looking at a number of apartment buildings. These look a little bit older, but the one on the right certainly looks brand new, like it was just put up. Here's another one. Looking at the whole street is looks like it's apartment buildings and office buildings on the left. These are all, I assume, Somali owned. Here you're showing me one that looks like apartment buildings, and then at the bottom are stores, shops that are all I can see. That these are have Islamic names. They have uh, um, uh, Arabic names. Here is another whole set of apartment buildings that are quite new on the left. So you're talking about numerous ones. These are all in Eastleigh. We're looking now at both sides of the picture. There's the big road with apartment buildings on both sides. And this looks like it is skyrise office building. They're still building it. So you can see it's new. So that's new money coming in. Here's a number of apartment buildings on a dirt road, which means they haven't even had time to pave the road, but they built the buildings up. Nice, beautiful buildings. Here is another, looks like it could be another side of the same mall that we saw at the very beginning. And this is definitely an apartment building with blue, brown, and white facade. Okay, Joseph, so you saw all those
Mm.
pictures. These are apartment buildings. They
Yeah.
look like one or two office buildings, all of them high rise, brand new. These, you're right, these
Yeah.
are all brand new. And
Yeah.
they're so new that the roads haven't even been constructed to accommodate them
Mm.
yet. They have yet to even pave the roads below them. So, where would you, I mean, this is the big question. How, and my question when I was there is, where did all this fast money come from? I had just been in Minneapolis 3 months before that. I'd been in the Somali quarter there. It was very poor. It was run down. Uh, I couldn't, and yet we're finding all these almost $1 billion. They're saying now that it may raise to $10 billion. Now that they've given it over to the federal
Mm.
government, that they may find that as $10 billion may have left the country, may have left United States and gone to, they're saying back to Somaliland. But it looks like, I'm guessing, there's no way I can prove it, and there's no way that you can prove it. It looks like much of this money is going into those buildings we were just looking at. A lot of those apartment buildings that are being
Yeah.
raised quickly. Now, give me your take on this. I mean, when I was talking to you, I was incredulous. I didn't think you guys. I said, how could these all be Somali? They're the poorest of the poor in our country, and this is what we noticed when we
Yeah,
were in Britain.
yeah. So the in our work, in our nature of work, we normally talk to Somalis a lot, and one of the things that comes out so strongly is that uh, one out of every 3 to 4 Somalis I will speak with in a week has a relative, as someone who is staying in either in Europe or in the United States, and mostly that's Minnesota. So um, and mostly that's where they're receiving their funds from. Last week but one, I was talking to a young man, and he was overseeing a building, another very, very huge building. And I was wondering, how can he oversee such a building as a young man? He's a very young man who has no job, he's doing nothing, but he's overseeing a building that is being constructed by someone who is in Minnesota. He's not actually in Nairobi. So, and this is the situation that is replicated over and over and over again. We are so certain this money is not Kenyan money. It's not from here. Somalis in Eastleigh right now are walking around with iPhones like their toys, uh, and it's simply not because they have the money. The other day, one of my teammates knocked, or rather, was hit by a car from behind that was having 2 Somali young boys, and they had to pay him. So they wanted to pay cash, and immediately they just called. And guess what? They were calling their mother, who was not in Kenya but in Minnesota, to actually pay the money on their behalf, which was done very fast, and it was not little money. So what we are saying is there's very good evidence that this money is definitely not Kenyan money. Here in Kenya, it's only the Somali community that walks around with dollars so freely uh, in their pockets, as if it's Kenyan notes. So yeah, I think I do agree with you that there's room for suspicion. There's room for us to really question, knowing very well also that it's not like Somalis have really established business in this country, and they're having these huge monies, that because these are multi-billion apartments in terms of Kenyan shillings, not the dollar, but these are multi-billion apartments. The BBS mall itself, I think, is several hundreds of I think some 50 or so, or 25 billion Kenyan shillings to set it up. Yeah, and all this is happening around us so easily. So I have every reason to see that this is not just it's not a normal flow of funds. It's not normal remittance from because there are people who also remit funds from outside. But this is not the normal kind of remittance. We have many other Kenyans who are out there, and they're just not raising such kinds of structures back home. They are not.
Yeah.
They can't be able. Yeah.
Joseph, that's all we wanted to really talk about is to find out what's going on. I was also told that they have a special clause for money coming from Minnesota that the Somali community don't have to pay tax on the dollars they bring in. Is that correct?
I've been trying to find out whether if I can get hold of that, but sometimes when the law is loose on some things, they really hide it. So I haven't been able. Just still asking around whether I can get hold of that information.
Okay. This is
Yeah,
your teammates
yeah,
that was in the car with us. He was mentioning that there is the only group that does not have to pay tax on investment funds.
yeah,
What coming
yeah.
in are the Somali
I
community.
haven't seen that personally, but yeah, I would not. I would definitely. I would not be shocked to find that that is true.
Okay, we're not going to
Uh,
say that that is true yet. We're going to say that that's
yeah.
all we've been told, we've been hearing. Now, listen, Joseph. One of the things we do know, we talked about this yesterday in our group here, that this alwala al-bara, this idea that you are loyal to yourself, but you disavow of anything outside of your community. This idea
mm,
in Islam that you are very close to your community, that you support your community, but
yeah,
you're almost at Dal al Harb, the idea of house
mm,
of war. You're at war with those who are outside. And so
mhm,
the idea of fraud is not seen as a problem in their community if indeed they're in a context of war. And the Dar
yeah,
al Harb idea is we see this in our conversations with Muslims all the time. They say, in the context of war, we're allowed to lie, to cheat, to fraud,
yeah,
because it is
mm,
all with the purpose of bringing in Dar al Islam, house of Islam.
mhm,
And this is one of the
mm,
many ways of doing it, economically doing that, politically doing that, even in their discussion in dahwa. When we do dahwa, they can lie and cheat. They can say anything they want
yeah,
because this is the
yeah,
al-wala, al-bara that they talk about all the time. It's very much a part
mhm,
and parcel of the way they think. As Christians, we
yeah.
don't do this, do we, Joseph?
No, we don't do that. And I like the way you normally say it, like you normally have said it, that this is what makes the Muslim problem such a difficult thing for the governments. And that's why it's the Christians who come into, it's only the Christians who can come in with a solution. Because for the government, how do they deal with that? How do they deal with a man who is deceiving you in order to gain because the US government trusted them as people who can actually serve the community. But for a believer, for a Christian who is alert, we are able to know that for Muslims, you have to have a second level of suspicion because it could be that they are actually deceiving you.
Yeah,
Um, because they want to propagate the agenda of the community and the agenda of the Muslim people or the Somali people. So and it will not count whether they deceived you because to them deception to a non-believer or a non-Muslim or a kafir is not deception at all. It's actually congratulated by Allah for the sake of propagating the cause of Islam. So it becomes a very difficult position, uh, especially for governments. But I think, as you normally put it, it's that's why it's the believers, it's the Christians who have the solution. Even this, whatever the government is trying to do right now to sort it out, they will try. I mean, they will bring out the fraud, they will get the guys, but to deal with the ideology, with the Islam that is making these guys very difficult to handle. I think that's for the Christian, and we have the solution. We have the antidote for this, and it is Christ Jesus only, and that's why we always call them home. We always ask them to come home
that's a,
because yeah,
that's a good way to put it. And really, it's so good to see when Jesus is very clear that we are to help the poor, the oppressed, the orphans,
yeah,
those
mm,
who are the weakest in the community. We are to give all of our funds to that, not to take from the government as a means of enriching
yeah,
ourselves, making our
yes,
building large buildings and tall edifices and large malls in the cause of
hmm,
Jesus. He would not allow that. He would not do that. He did not model that. Look at the way he modeled. And
hmm,
this is the beautiful thing about Jesus Christ, isn't it, Joseph? That when you look at Jesus and you
yeah,
look at the way he lived, when you look at
yeah,
Paul was a tent maker. He even took care of himself. He wouldn't let even the other churches take care of him. He was so
yeah,
clear that it was the gospel of Jesus Christ that brings you not only the riches, all the riches you need, but also it brings out the honesty and the idea that we are
yeah,
responsible for our brothers and we are responsible for their livelihoods. And that's why in almost if you look at the history of missions, our whole history has been building hospitals, building schools, building orphanages. Why do we do that? For the other, for those who are not even of our own family or even our own race or even our own
yeah,
culture.
mm,
We do that because Jesus
mm,
modeled for us. And it's such a
yeah.
contrast to what we're seeing in this case. Now listen, thanks so much, Joseph. Is there anything last thing
Mm.
you'd like to say?
Yeah, I think we've from my end, what how I look at this issue is it offers the world an opportunity to really see the reality of Islam. And I think this is what we've got to press in as much as possible. That this is not just a Somali problem. This is this is an Islam problem. Of course, the Somalis are now the ones that are out there. They're the ones who are on the stage. But this is a Muslim problem. This is an Islamic problem that is in the West right now. It's in Europe. It's eating Europe. Uh, the funds. I mean, we are not talking about the funds that are coming from the UK in order to come this way. So we have to respond. We have to respond to Islam as an ideology, not just the fraud issue. uh, because when we look at it just as an isolated fraud issue, then we fail to clip the root from the tree from the root, and we only get the branches, and then we are so excited when the branches fall, but yet the roots are still in there. And so the world has really got to wake up to the reality that this is Islam. Islam only uh, uh, it's only it only sits in its values as a religion that propagates itself. It's not a religion that propagates values to accommodate others and to enrich others and to build others. No, it's to build itself, to show itself, and to try and eliminate all the others. Because even at the end of the day, whatever monies they are trying to throw all over the place out here is to try and also take over. Like, I mean, Nairobi right now, they are buying the businesses left, right, center. So they want to take over so that Islam will be propagated with lots of ease. It's not really accommodative and encouraging. So yeah, let's really look at the problem. Let's not shy away from it. Let's not deal with the branches. This is only a symptom. The disease is right in there. The cancer is still eating us. Yeah, that's what I'd like to say.
Right. Go to the roots, go to the foundations. God bless you. Thanks so much, Joseph. This has been great. Thanks for being there. I know you're quite a few hours ahead of us here in the United States. It's so great that we can talk to you. I'm so glad that I have met you. And listen, brother, keep working.
Mhm.
Bring those Somalis home. We need to bring them home to a better place, a better
Okay.
man, a better book, and of course, a better way of dealing with culture. In this case,
Yep.
culture that Jesus has left behind, the model that he has left behind, we need them to also model that as well. And thanks for modeling that yourself, Joseph. And thanks for the work you do. God bless you. This is Joseph and Jay, over and out.